The scout ship Vigilant drifted through the void, her hull scorched and scarred. No navigation lights, no beacon, only silence. Inside, Captain Reyes sat in the dim glow of the emergency console, sweat dripping down his temple. His hands shook. As he pressed the record button, "This is Captain Daniel Reyes of the Vigilant. If you find this, don't follow us. The needle isn't what they told you it was." His eyes darted to the viewport, where something vast and dark moved across. The stars. The ship trembled. "We thought it was a doorway. It's not." The rest of his words were swallowed by static as a massive shadow slid in front of the ship, blotting out the starlight like a hand over a candle. Then, nothing. The transmission ended. Far above Earth, the orbital command station, Aegis Prime, hung like a crown over the blue planet. Inside the war room, the recording played on a looping holoscreen. Senior officers, scientists, and political delegates sat around the long table. No one spoke. The image of Rhea's pale, terrified face lingered in the air before fading too. Black Commander Alara Dane stood at the head of the table, arms crossed. She was a tall woman with steel-gray eyes, and the calm of someone who had spent a lifetime staring into the unknown. But even she felt a chill. Rear Admiral Vance broke the silence. "The needle is our only option. Keth's swarm is pushing into Sol within a year. We can't hold them back forever." Dr. Halloway, chief xenotechnologist, shook his head. "Rhea's ship never came back. The others didn't either. The structure doesn't obey known physics. Energy readings spike and vanish at random. There is something inside it." Vance's voice hardened. "Something or not, we have to take the risk. That's why we need her." Dozens of eyes turned to Alara. She kept her voice steady. "You want me to take a ship into the needle?" Even after this, she gestured at the frozen image of Reyes. Vance leaned forward. "We're not asking, Commander. You know Deep Space Command better than anyone. You've faced unknowns before and come back alive." Lara's gaze swept. The room, some looked determined, others afraid. Finally, she nodded once. "Then I'll need the Dauntless, my own crew." Vance's lips twitched in approval. "Granted. A departure in 72 hours. The Dauntless waited in dry dock like a sleeping predator. Sleek, armored, armed for the deep. The hangar buzzed with activity as crews loaded supplies, drones, and experimental scanning equipment. Alara walked through the docking bay, her boots ringing against the steel deck. She met each crew member's eyes as she passed. Engineers, pilots, Marines. They saluted, but their expressions carried the same silent question. "What's out there?" Lieutenant Caravas, her pilot, fell into step beside her. "Heard the needle's bigger than Jupiter, older than the galaxy." "Rumors," Alara replied. "Don't listen to ghost stories before a mission." Kara smirked faintly. "Guess we'll find out if they're true." In the armory, Gunnery Sergeant Hale checked over the Marine squad. "If something's waiting on the other side, we'll be ready to greet it." Yalara paused at the viewport. Beyond the hangar's magnetic shield, space stretched black and endless. Somewhere out there, the needle waited, a ring of alien origin, hanging in the dark like a silent judgment. Hook's tension deepens 3 days later. The Dauntless launched. Engines roared to life, pushing the ship free of Earth's shadow. On the bridge, Alara sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the star map. The needle's coordinates glowed faintly in red, far beyond known human space. "Set course," she ordered. The ship accelerated, the stars streaking past. Days turned. 2 weeks as they crossed the deep void. Along the way, the crew trained, ran drills, and studied what little data existed on the needle. But the closer they got, the stranger the readings became. Sensors picked up faint signals, fragments of human transmissions, some decades old. Impossible given the age of the program. Voices whispered through static in the comms, too distorted to identify. Late one night, Alara reviewed the fragment from Reyes again. This time, she noticed something in the background. Not the shadow, but a faint rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. 3 weeks into the journey, the Dauntless emerged from a dust field, and the crew saw it for the first time. The needle was not just big, it was monstrous. Perfect ring of black alloy, wide enough to fit a small moon through its center, spun slowly in the dark. Faint patterns of light rippled across its surface, shifting like constellations being drawn and erased. In real time, the bridge went silent. Even the hum of the ship seemed quieter. "Bringing us to a full stop," Kara said, voice hushed. As they approached, debris came into view, shattered hulls of ships, human and alien, drifting like bones around a grave. One piece of metal tumbled past the viewport. Alara recognized the faded lettering. Vigilant. Her jaw tightened. Everything. Full scans. "Captain." The sensor officer's voice trembled. "We're picking up a signal. It's Rhea's voice, but it's coming from inside the needle." The transmission played. Rhea's voice, distorted but unmistakable, whispered through static, "Ilara, don't let it see you." The bridge fell into stillness. Every crew member turned toward her. Ilara's mind raced. How could Reyes know her name? He'd vanished months before she was assigned. Still staring at the alien ring, she gave the only order that made sense. "Prepare to enter." S. The needle's shadow. The Dauntless moved closer to the alien ring, its black surface swallowing all light. From this distance, the structure seemed less like a machine and more like a living thing, slow, deliberate, and waiting. Commander Alara stood at the forward viewport, hands clasped behind her back. Every instinct told her to turn away. Every order demanded she press forward. "Helm," she said quietly, "take us to minimum safe distance." Lieutenant Karavas's hands danced over the controls. "Aye, Commander." Duh. "But who decides? What's safe when no one's been this close before?" Lara didn't answer. The Dauntless's scanners swept the needle, but readings were useless. The structure absorbed and twisted every signal, returning impossible results, mass estimates. That changed by the second, energy signatures that flared and vanished like sparks in water. Hale's Marines waited in the armory, suited up, weapons checked. In their helmets, they traded quiet jokes to keep the tension away, but their eyes stayed on the small feed showing the alien ring. On the bridge, the signal from Reyes kept playing. "On a loop, Alara. Don't let it see you." No one wanted to say what they were thinking, that maybe Reyes was dead, and something else was speaking with his voice. As they reached the needle's shadow, the ship's lights dimmed. For a fraction of a second, no alarms, no technical fault. Just darkness, like the Dauntless had blinked. "Engineering reports no issues," the comms officer said nervously. "Power flows steady, but sensors say we just passed into a region with no measurable time." "Flow?" Alara frowned. "Explain, ma'am." "By our instruments, time here is still, but we're moving inside it." Kara let out a slow breath. "So, we're flying through a clock that isn't ticking." The needle loomed larger, filling the viewport until the crew could see the tiny ridges along its surface. Not damage, but deliberate markings. Alara activated the forward camera, zooming in. The markings weren't random, they were symbols. And the symbols weren't static, they shifted like ink flowing across paper. Rearranging into patterns the human brain struggled to follow. Dr. Halloway appeared on the bridge, summoned from the science deck. "Warning glyphs," he said after studying them, at least. "That's the closest translation I can guess. They changed to match the observer. Which means the needle knows we're here." Mid-episode tensions spike without warning. The comms erupted with a burst of static, and then a new voice. "You were early." It wasn't Reyes. It wasn't human. The voice was deep, metallic, and layered, like many voices speaking in perfect unison. The crew froze. "Source?" Alara demanded. "Everywhere," the comms officer said. His hands trembled on the console. "Ma'am, the signal isn't coming through antennas. It's in the ship." Directly, the voice came again. "Enter, and you may pass. Refuse, and you will join the others." On the main screen, debris floated, twisted metal, shattered hulls. Dozens of ships, human and alien alike. Their lights were long dead. Hale's voice crackled over the comms from the armory. "Commander, with respect, I think that's the nicest invitation we're going to get." Alara's mind raced. Rhea's warning. The voice. The shifting symbols. they could turn back. But turning back meant Earth would fall to the Keth. Swarm. Humanity's last hope lay in finding something, anything beyond this alien ring. She straightened. Helm, take us in. The Dauntless crossed the ring's inner edge. For a heartbeat, reality tore. The stars vanished. The black alloy of the needle dissolved into a tunnel of shifting light. Space bent, twisted, folded, in on itself. Every crew member felt the same sensation, not of moving forward, but of being pulled sideways through something vast and watching. And then they were through. The view outside the viewport defied logic. They floated. Light returned slowly, like waking from a dream. The crew of the Dauntless blinked, finding themselves still at their stations, but something was wrong. The hum of the engines was gone. Steady vibration of life support fans. Silent. Laura scanned the bridge. Every system panel was dark. Kara, I've got nothing, Kara said, hitting switches that refused to respond. No power, no thrusters, nothing. It's like the ship is. Frozen, not just the ship, the comms officer said quietly. He pointed to the viewport. Outside, they were adrift in a place that wasn't space. The stars were gone. Instead, vast shapes floated in the distance, unmoving. Some looked like fragments of planets. Others resembled colossal statues of beings no one recognized. They hung there as if caught in amber, trapped mid-motion. Holloway stepped forward slowly. This isn't a star system. This is a graveyard. Not of ships of moments. A ripple. Not in the ship, not in the crew, but in the world. Like the air itself was a thin film, and something was pressing against it from the other side. Before anyone could react, the Dauntless shuddered. The lights flickered once, not from the ship's own systems, but from somewhere outside. Then they saw it. A figure floated toward them through the stillness. Humanoid in shape, but too tall, too thin. Its skin glowed faintly, etched with the same shifting symbols seen on the needle. It stopped a few meters from the viewport and tilted its head, studying them. Commander Hale's voice came over the comms, low and tense. We've got movement in the cargo bay. We're still dead in the water, but something's inside. Alara kept her eyes on the figure outside. Hale, take your team and secure the bay. Report the moment you have visual. Hale's reply was cut off by static. On the bridge, the figure outside raised a long, thin hand and pressed it to the glass. The symbols on its skin began to rearrange faster and faster until they formed shapes the human brain could recognize. Words. The message was short. You chose wrong. The ship trembled again. This time, Alara felt it deep in her bones, a soundless vibration like the universe itself was holding its breath. Kara, if there's any power in this ship, find it. Kara worked frantically, trying to wait. I've got partial control on environmental systems. That's it. We direct everything to thrusters, Alara ordered. I will, Commander. That'll vent half the oxygen. We won't need oxygen if we stay here. Before Kara could confirm, a voice filled the bridge, the same many-layered tone they'd heard before entering the needle. You were given choice. You chose the path that ends. But endings are flexible. The view outside warped. The floating shapes began to move, slowly at first, then faster. Planet fragments rotated, statues tilted in impossible shadows, swept over them. Holloway's voice was tight. Commander, I think time just started again here. The figure outside the ship dissolved into light, scattering into the darkness. In its place, the black shape from the needle's entrance, appeared the shifting limbs, the eyes opening and closing. Only now, it was closer. Much closer. Helm, Alara snapped. Kara slammed her hands on the controls. We've got partial thrust, not enough to outrun that thing. Hale's voice finally broke through the static, shouting over gunfire. We're under attack. Cargo bay breached, it's inside. Alara made her choice in an instant. Kara, head toward the largest structure out there, the one that looks like a ringed spire. Full speed, burn every drop of fuel we've got left. The Dauntless groaned as the thrusters kicked, the ship limping forward. The black shape followed, its limbs stretching unnaturally, closing the distance. Holloway leaned over his console. "Commander, that spire. It's made of the same material as the needle. Then maybe it's a way out," Alara said. They raced toward the spire. The black shape moved faster, ignoring the rules of space, its form shifting in ways the human mind couldn't track. Kara's voice was almost a whisper. "It's going to catch us." Alara didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the spire, watching as the symbols along its surface began to glow. Just as the shadow reached them, the spire opened. A blinding light poured out, pulling the Dauntless inside. The shadow recoiled, shrieking in a sound that bypassed ears and went straight to the brain. In the next instant, they were through. The bridge screens lit up. Life support fans roared back to life. Thrusters hummed, and outside, stars, familiar, constellations. They were back in normal space. But they weren't alone. Hanging before them was a fleet. Hundreds of ships, human and alien, all bearing the same glowing symbols. A voice came over the comms, calm and precise. "Commander Alara, welcome to the Last Alliance. We've been waiting for you." The Last Alliance. For a long moment, the Dauntless floated in silence. Every crew member stared at the impossible. Sight ahead, a fleet so large it seemed to stretch across the stars. Ships of every shape and size, some familiar human designs, others clearly alien but bristling with weapons. And all of them bore the same shifting symbols they had seen on the needle. Alara broke the silence. "Open a channel, all frequencies." Kara nodded, her hands flying across the controls. "Channel open, Commander. This is Commander Alara of the human vessel Dauntless. Identify yourself." The reply came instantly, a deep, steady voice that carried the weight of command. "We are the Last Alliance, the ones who still resist the Devourer." Holloway's brow furrowed. "The Devourer? That's what was chasing us?" The voice said, cutting through the bridge. "That was a piece of it. A hunter. The Devourer itself consumes entire timelines." A new ship detached from the fleet and moved toward them. It was massive, 10 times the size of the Dauntless, with sharp, angular armor and a core that glowed like a captured sun. "Prepare to dock," the voice said. "You will understand everything soon." Docking clamps locked with a heavy, metallic thud. The airlock hissed open. Alara stepped through first, her crew close behind. The docking bay was filled with beings from dozens of species. Some Alara recognized from the Galactic Council records, others she had never seen before. All of them stopped to look at her. It was not a friendly stare. From the crowd, a tall figure emerged. Human, male, early 50s. With a commander's uniform that had been modified with alien armor plates. "Alara," he said, with a small nod. "I'm Admiral Kane. I was the first human through the needle, 15 years ago." 15 years. Alara frowned. But the needle was discovered only a year ago. Kane's eyes darkened. "Not for us. Time moves differently beyond the needle. In here, you can live decades while only months pass outside." He led them down a corridor lined with banners, each bearing the symbol of a world lost to the Devourer. Kane spoke as they walked. "The Devourer is not a fleet. It's not an empire. It's a living singularity, a mind that exists across timelines. It hunts civilizations when they reach a certain level of technology." The Council. "I thought the needle was an escape. In truth, it's a filter." "A filter for what?" Alara asked. Kane stopped and turned to face her. "For those who can fight it. The needle only lets through the ones it deems dangerous enough." They entered a war room, its center dominated by a holographic display of dozens of galaxies, spread like a disease across them. "Those are timelines already lost," Kane said. "Every red mark is a history erased, a people gone. The Devourer doesn't conquer, it removes. Entire species vanish as if they never existed." Holloway leaned forward. "And this alliance, you're trying to stop it?" Kane nodded. "We've fought it for centuries, from different timelines, pulling survivors together. Every ship in this fleet passed through their own needle. Every crew lost their world." Alara studied the hologram. "Why bring us here now?" Because Kane said, his voice low, your timeline is next, and the devourer has already begun feeding. Before Alara could speak, the war room lights dimmed. A massive window at the far wall cleared to show the blackness of space. At first she thought she was seeing a star collapse, but then the darkness moved. Tendrils of shadow, too large to measure, reached outward, swallowing a cluster of stars. It was the same presence she'd felt beyond the needle, but infinitely larger. The room filled with a cold, heavy silence that Kane said is a fraction of its true form, and it's coming for Earth. Lara's stomach tightened. Then we go back. We warn the council. Kane shook his head. If you go back now, the needle will close to you forever. The only way to stop it is here, in the place between times. This is the last stand of every timeline it has ever touched. The hologram shifted, showing a plan, fleets converging. On a single point in the dark void, this, Kane said, is the eye of the needle, the place where all timelines meet. The Devourer's core passes through it once every cycle. We have one chance to strike before it moves on and erases another galaxy. Ilara looked at the map, the countless ships moving toward the eye. Her instincts screamed at her. This wasn't just a battle, it was suicide. And yet, something in her knew this was what the Dauntless had been sent for. Kane stepped closer. I'm asking you to lead the strike, Fla. The hangar felt alive with tension. Ships hummed as they powered up. Engineers shouted final checks, and soldiers of dozens of species stood ready.
Ow.
Every movement carried the weight of knowing there might be no return. Ilara walked down the line of human troops from the Dauntless. They weren't smiling, but their eyes were steady. Holloway adjusted his rifle, muttering, feels like walking into the mouth of something hungry. Kara shot him a look. It is hungry. Let's just hope we give it something it can't swallow. In the command center, Admiral Kane stood. Over the battle display, the eye of the needle rotated in the hologram, a glowing sphere of shifting light in the middle of absolute darkness. Around it, the Alliance fleet formed a loose ring. When the Devourer passes through, Kane said it will be weakened. That's when we hit it with everything. Weapons, drives, even our own ships if we must. If it gets past us. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The countdown began. T-minus 10 minutes to emergence. Alara took her seat. On the Dauntless Bridge, all stations report. Weapons officer, full charge. Navigation, engines green. Kara. Comes open to all Alliance channels. A low vibration spread through the ship as the needle's strange energy field grew stronger. Out the viewport, the eye swirled like molten glass, every color shifting. And twisting, it was beautiful. Terrifying. Then space bent. Didn't explode, didn't shimmer. It simply tore. From the tear, darkness spilled. Not an absence of light, but a presence that devoured it. Tendrils of shadow curled like smoke, moving against physics. Deep inside, something vast and alive pulsed with an impossible heartbeat. The bridge. Lights dimmed, not because of power loss, but because the shadows outside were eating the light inside the ship. All ships, fire. Kane's voice roared through comms. The void erupted. Thousands of weapons discharged beams, torpedoes, alien plasma streams. The dark tendrils writhed, tearing through ships with casual swipes. An alien battleship the size of a city split in two, vanishing into the shadows. The Dauntless shook violently. Shields at 40%. Keep us moving, Alara ordered. Aim for the core. Through the chaos, Alara saw it, the heart of the Devourer, a burning wound in space, deep inside the tendrils. Every instinct screamed at her not to look, but she forced herself to focus. That was the target. A squadron of smaller craft dove in, firing concentrated beams. For a moment, the shadows recoiled, and like a living organism, the Devourer adapted. The small ships vanished in a single ripple of black. Holloway slammed a fist on his console. We're losing too many. We can't punch through. Kane's voice crackled in. Commander, the Dauntless is faster than anything else here. You're going in. Alara's hands tightened on the armrests. That's a death run. Kane didn't argue. If you don't make it, no one will. Every other ship will cover your approach. Get to the core, deliver the payload. Kara whispered. Payload? What payload? Her console pinged. A small metal case had just been transferred aboard. A warhead unlike any human or alien design. Navigation, Alara said. Plot the shortest possible path to the core. Weapons. Prepare to arm the package. The Dauntless dove into the battle, weaving between burning debris and collapsing ships. Enemy tendrils lashed toward them, sometimes passing just meters away before being blown apart by covering fire from Alliance allies. The voices over comms grew fewer. Ships that had been speaking seconds ago went silent forever. They reached the inner zone. Here the light was gone entirely. Only the Dauntless's internal systems gave them sight. The shadows moved like an ocean around them, but at the center was a blazing sphere of impossible energy, the Devourer's mind made visible. Kara's voice trembled. I can hear it in my head. Ilara heard it too. Not words, but a feeling. Hunger without end and a promise. You will be nothing. She ignored it. Target locked. Arm the payload. The warhead's core glowed on the tactical screen. It wasn't explosive in the usual sense Kane had said. It would collapse space itself around the Devourer, trapping it for centuries. But to do that, it had to be placed inside the sphere. The Dauntless charged straight in. Shields boiled away. Whole alarm screamed. The crew braced as the ship scraped the edge of the sphere's energy field. Holloway hit the release. The warhead launched, vanishing into the burning light. Get us out, Alara ordered. The nav officer's hands moved fast, but the shadows were closing. Tendrils wrapped around the Dauntless, crushing the hull with impossible strength. The warhead detonated. For a second, the entire universe went silent, then light. Blinding, endless light, shoving the shadows back. The Devourer recoiled, its tendrils thrashing in agony as the sphere collapsed inward, dragging the monster with it. The blast wave hurled the Dauntless away like a leaf in a hurricane. Systems overloaded, fires broke out, and half the bridge went dark. Kara coughed through smoke. Is it over? Alara stared at the shrinking sphere. No, we bought time, but it will come again. From the comms, Kane's voice came weak but steady. You did it, Commander. The galaxy lives. For now. Alara looked at the silent stars beyond. Then we'd better be ready for next time. The long shadow of the Dauntless limped into orbit over Earth 2 weeks later. Her hull was scorched, her engines unstable, and a third of her crew didn't return. Yet the ship still flew. In the capital's military dock, crowds gathered to watch. They expected cheers, banners, and speeches. What they saw instead was a battered warship that had looked into the abyss and survived. Lara stepped off. The ramp first. She wasn't in dress uniform. She wore the same battle armor she had left in, blackened and scarred. It told the truth more clearly than words could. Inside the briefing chamber, the surviving Alliance commanders were already waiting. The air felt heavy, as if everyone knew the victory was not the end. Admiral Kane's voice was hoarse. The needle is gone. The Devourer is trapped in a collapsed pocket. Can't touch us for now. For now? Holloway asked sharply. You mean Kane nodded? Everything that exists leaves a shadow, and the Devourer's shadow is still here. They showed the recordings, grainy black and white feeds from deep space. At first nothing, then ripples. Small, faint disturbances, like something scratching at the walls of reality. Probing, Kane said. It's searching for weaknesses, and when it finds them, it will pull itself back into our space. One of the alien admirals stood. We cannot win a second battle like this. Half our fleets are gone. Kane turned to Alara, which is why humanity has a new role. You've faced it up close. You've seen how it thinks. We need you to prepare. That night, Ilara walked alone through the silent hangar of the Dauntless. She ran a hand along the hull, feeling the dents and scorch marks like old scars. Kara joined her. They want us to train for another war. They're right, Ilara said. We only fought the Devourer's body. Its mind is still out there. Holloway appeared from the shadows. You're talking like this isn't over? Most people out there think we won? Elara gave him a long look. They'll believe that until the sky darkens again.
We have the
Weeks that followed, humanity changed. Earth's shipyards doubled production. Every human colony built shelters, defenses, and training programs. New weapons were tested, ones designed to tear through things that weren't supposed to exist. But the biggest change wasn't in the weapons. It was in the way the galaxy looked at humans. Before, humanity had been the newest member of the Alliance, ambitious, curious, but untested. Now they were something else. Dangerous, relentless. The species that had gone into the eye of the needle and returned when others would have been swallowed. Some alien worlds welcomed them as protectors. Others whispered that humans had brought the Devourer's gaze upon everyone. Months later, Elara was aboard a new ship, the Vigilant, faster and stronger than the Dauntless.
Oh.
From her captain's chair, she studied the latest deep space scans. The faint ripples were growing stronger, more frequent. The Devourer wasn't just scratching at reality anymore. It was pushing. Kara came up behind her. How long until it breaks through? Could be years. Could be months, Elara said. And when it does, Elara didn't hesitate. We go through again. This time we don't trap it. The end. The crew trained like soldiers on the edge of a siege. Holloway ran combat drills until every crew member could reload a weapon blindfolded. Kara pushed comes to scan deeper than any sensor array had before. Every department had one unspoken goal: be ready when the shadow returned. One night, Elara stood alone on the observation deck staring at the stars. She thought of the warhead, detonating inside the Devourer's core, of the silence before the light, of the feeling in her mind, that hunger promising to make her nothing. She spoke into the empty room. Not while I'm alive. Then the alarm sounded. Kara's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain Long Range Scans just picked up something. Not a ripple. An opening. Elara was already running for the bridge. Location? Outer edge of the Perseus Rift? The view screen lit up with the image. A wound in space, small but growing. And inside it, the faintest curl of shadow.